Welcome back to us listening to Mr. Chris Metzen reading to us the Heartlands audio novella series. We are continuing with Chapter 3, Bloodlines. Last time on Heartlands, Jaina was having difficulties acquiring the allegiance of Stromgard because of, Marin is apparently, not really having a great time right now. While Thrall tried to make his way to Hammerfall, poisoned, because he still has not remembered he could, use a poison cleansing totem, but I guess he just never talented into that. Oh, if only I had talented into a poison cleansing totem. Ugh. Walking there while poisoned and collapsed. Will Thrall survive? Find out today!
Blizzard Entertainment presents Heartlands by Adam Christopher, part of World of Warcraft, The War Within. Narrated by Chris Metzen. Chapter 3, Bloodlines. Thrall woke with a gasp. He went to rise, only for a pair of hands to push him gently back onto the cot. Easy, Amosh. Thrall blinked, his vision clear. Agra, he whispered. With her help, he sat up slowly. Then, suddenly remembering, his fingers found the spot where the arrow had struck him. It was tender, yes, but the wound was healed. The numbness in his arm gone.
I'll bet Agra remembered to talent into a poison cleansing totem and was like, "Oh, Goel, you silly goose, forgetting to talent into that totem."
The Lok-Osh are skilled, said Agra. They say it may take time for your strength to return fully, but I think they underestimate your stamina. She smiled. I'm not sure they quite believe you walked all the way from Stromgard in your condition. Groaning, Thrall said, How long was I out? A few hours, no more. Thrall eased his legs off the cot and allowed Agra to help him stand. He held her there, running his fingers along the line of Agra's jaw. It's good to see you, my love. And I you, she said. She paused. I just wish I could wake you with better news. Thrall sighed. No luck with Gayara. Agra shook her head. The situation is difficult. Thrall kneaded his sore shoulder. So I gathered. He looked around and saw they were in basic military barracks. On the other side of the room was another cot, on which Thrall's armor had been laid. Armor that had once belonged to Orgrim Doomhammer. Thrall's journey across the Highlands came back to him.
Can I just say I'm really happy that Thrall decided to re-don this armor. I never really liked his world shaman look that he got in Cataclysm, with the hood and the necklace of red beads around it and everything. I just never really liked that look, honestly, and it just kind of I didn't really like it. I liked this black mail armor that he has from Orgrim. I think it's a really cool armor, and I'm glad he's wearing it again.
His fever dream fresh in his mind. As he moved over and began dressing, he thought how strange it was now to be back here in Doomhammer's armor, as those old hatreds between the orcs and humans rose again. Just what would it take for Azeroth to move beyond this? To let go of a past that deserved, if not to be forgotten, then consigned to history where it belonged. He hefted the huge spiked spaulders onto his shoulders and began doing up the straps across his chest.
To chime in real quick, trust me, Thrall, plenty of us are asking the exact same thing. What is it going to take for us to literally move past this and just leave it in the past where it belongs?
I must speak with Gayara at once. Go well, said Agra. That may be harder than you think. Thrall grunted. But she knows I am here. Of course. It was fortunate she sent out the patrol that found you. She did not trust Stromgard to treat with you. Thrall began pulling his boots on. Then it is time to talk. You don't understand, said Agra. She will not grant you an audience. We shall see, said Thrall.
I mean, this is Thrall. I don't care how loyal these Mag'har are to Gayara. This is Thrall. These guys should listen to him. Like, he should be considered, like, royalty amongst the orcs, you know?
Thrall wound his way through the corridors of the base, followed close by Agra, until he came to a chamber guarded by 2 Korkron, who moved instinctively away from the door to let him pass.
Yeah, see, unlike the guards at Stromgarde, those Korkron knew, oh, this is Thrall, I'm moving out of the way, I'm just letting him through. I'm not gonna stand in the way and be like, you cannot pass. Yeah, they're gonna get an axe to the face if they did that. They know that.
It seemed Danath had spoken true in Boralis. Though Thrall would never have had reason to test it, the Korkron would still defer to him in the absence of a war chief. As he strode into the council chamber, he saw Gayara standing over a table covered by maps. With 2 other orcs, the current Korkron general, Taugar, and another green-skinned, gray-bearded warrior he was surprised to see. Eitrig! Thrall cried,
Eitrig!
moving around to greet his old friend. What are the Blackrock doing here? Eitrig clasped Thrall's outstretched arm. You are not the only one on a mission of diplomacy, Thrall. But I'm glad you are here. We would benefit from your counsel. Gayara met that remark with a scowl. Eitrig has advised me to stand down, while the fields of the Highlands are still wet with the blood of our people. Her eyes met Thrall's, and in her fury, he could see a fire in her that he had often possessed himself. In many ways, he thought, he and Gayara were so alike.
I just want to remind you folks that line is amusing and ironic, considering they both have the same parents. Now, to clarify, Thrall is the son of both Duratan and oh my gosh, I'm actually blanking on her name at the moment. Oh gosh, I'm so mad at myself for forgetting her name. Thrall's mom. We got to meet her, the original of her, in Shadowlands. Draka! There we go. I had to look it up. Draka. He is the son of Duratan and Draka from our main timeline. Gayara is the daughter of Duratan and Draka from the Warlords timeline. So in a funny, and I pointed this out when we met her during the Mag'har questline, to unlock the Mag'har orcs as a allied race, in a weird way, they are like brother and sister because they have the same parents, just the same parents from different timelines. Again, that Warlords alternate timeline thing becomes confusing, but yeah, it's in a weird way, these are brother and sister because they have the same parents, just, well, you get the idea, you get the point.
But I command here, said Gayara, aiming this comment at Eitrig before turning back to Thrall. And if I wanted your counsel, Goel, I would have called for it. Thrall held firm. It seems my hour is very late, and I am sorry for that. I must speak with you, Gayara. He gestured to his mate. I'm sure Agra has told you everything. She told me much I already knew, said Gayara. And you come at the worst possible time, my friend. I fear we cannot choose our moment, said Thrall. But I came here to ask for your help. Gayara sighed. And you will have it, once Stromgarde is dealt with and my people are safe. Thrall glanced at Eitrig, but the old orc just shook his head. If Gayara had sought the advice of the Blackrock chieftain, then the situation was clearly bad. He needed to take a leaf from Eitrig's book. He wasn't here to browbeat Gayara into cooperation. He was here to negotiate. Tell me what is happening, said Thrall, pointing to the map. Perhaps we can help each other. Gayara didn't move. the muscles at the back of her jaw working as she stared down Thrall. Then she nodded and seemed to calm. "Fine," she said. "Since coming here, we've existed in peace with Stromgarde." She pointed to their position on the map. "We shared a problem with the area's predators, and all benefited from culling their numbers. But then Danath Trollbane installed his niece, Merrin, as regent when his duty drew him to Stormwind City. She gave us only a few months of peace before she began amassing the 7th Legion Auxiliary." She tossed several tokens onto the table, representing the auxiliary. "She said it was to help Stromgarde do their part, protecting farms from predators. But soon their patrols began roaming farther and farther from their base. What had once been amicable encounters between our forces gave way to violence. Today's skirmish marked yet another escalation, and she is far from finished." "The humans do nothing but provoke," said Talgar. "They make a sport of it." "They left us no choice," said Gayara. "The only way to ensure the safety of our people was to bring the Korkron here, to reinforce the base."
Now, hearing this, I will admit I am more of a Horde main player than I am Alliance, since I tend to, if you were to ask me what side my heart falls with, it is the Horde. But, as much I'm like, okay, so what you're telling me is that Merrin actually started this. Keep in mind, that's not entirely what we got from her when she talked to Jaina, but at the same time, Jaina didn't exactly ask, how did we reach this point? And Merrin didn't exactly say, well, those orcs, after a few months of peace, started attacking us, or that's not what Merrin said. She didn't exactly, we don't exactly have a, well, they started it. Gayara, is so far the only one that said, after a few months, she essentially started having them, attack us. Basically saying that Merrin is the one who started this. And based on what I saw from her interaction with Jaina, I could actually buy that, because she seems to have carried over perhaps some memories, emotions, feelings, trauma, whatever you want to call it, from the past. And maybe once Danath was gone, she took advantage of that, because she apparently has some, bitterness or grudges that she still won't let go of. Possibly? I'm waiting to find out more, because I feel like there's definitely more to this than what we are being let on. Because otherwise, this just makes Merrin seem like a villain here. Or the villain of what's been happening in this situation.
She placed a different colored token on the table, which fell heavily into place beside Hammerfall. Thrall sighed. Something that Merrin would have seen as a clear act of intimidation, too. He gave Talgar a pointed look. Building 2 armies only risks one terrible outcome. There is another way. Gayara laughed. Then please, tell us. Talk, said Thrall. He gestured to Eitrig. Diplomacy. Negotiation. Even now, Lady Jaina Proudmoore is at Stromgarde, on the same mission as I. And good luck to her, said Gayara. Marin Trollbane is not one for conversation. She far prefers to let her archers do the talking. Besides, as I told you, she isn't finished. Explain, said Thrall. We know that Stromgarde is planning an attack, said Talgar. No mere skirmish this time. They intend to capture territory and expand their borders. Agra stepped up to the table. They plan to strike Hammerfall? The cowards wouldn't dare, said Gayara. No, their target is Goshek Farm. She indicated on the map. If Merrin thinks to claim an easy victory against our farmers, then she is sorely mistaken. She looked at Thrall. And trust me, even with the 7th Legion, Stromgarde would fall quickly against the strength of the Magar, let alone the Korkron. Many will die. and they will not be orcs. Thrall looked at Gayara, at that fire in her eyes. She was so like him, yet so different. True enough, he had been in her position once. But where Thrall had learned, it seemed, Gayara had hardened. Perhaps because she was from another world, another timeline, a living testament to the older, harsher ways of Draenor. He shook his head.
Gayara, if Stromgard falls, the full might of the Alliance will answer. There is another choice.
Diplomacy, Gayara spat. You were shot by their archer while on a diplomatic mission. We have the enemy preparing to slaughter our civilians in an ambush, and you talk of diplomacy?
I can understand how Gayara feels about this, based on what she just described. This is really painting Merrin in a very horrible way. Shooting a representative on a diplomatic mission, and then that last part she just said, killing innocent civilians, farmers, not soldiers, farmers, civilians, probably because they're orcs. Because, well, like I said, she seems to have been brought up on those old human hatreds towards orcs, which reminded me a lot of Jaina's father. That they believed that the orcs could never be turned around, that the only option when it came to dealing with the orcs was to genocide them.
Merrin Trollbane is driven to destroy us. She sees her own victory as the only path to peace. Thrall felt the heat rise in his face as he took a step to Gayara.
Then show her. Make the first move to treat. I challenge you. Prove to her that there is always a better way.
What are you afraid of, Goel? Shouted Gayara. The armistice has made you complacent, soft, just like our father.
Our father?
Thrall felt his jaw go slack.
What did you say?
But Gayara wasn't listening. I am alive and Duratan is not, because I have seen hatred unbridled and dared to stand against it. She slammed a fist on her war table. Not so long ago, the humans kept the orcs as slaves on this very ground. Agra tells me you were here to free them. Or did you forget the legacy of the armor you bear, brother?
Wow, she even calls him brother. I was referring to that in the sense that they are sort of like brother and sister, but not really, because technically their parents are not the same parents. Like, it's two different Duratans and two different Drakas. So, again, it's a weird situation, but apparently Gayara does see him as her brother, since technically they have the same parents, just different version. Moving on.
At this, Thrall took a step back. He blinked, his mind racing. That's enough, Agra silenced Gayara. She put a hand on Thrall's arm. He turned to look at her, and then he could see. It was plain on her face.
Brother,
he said. Agra's eyes widened. Goel,
You knew.
Wait a minute. Thrall did not know? Thrall didn't know this? I assumed somebody at some point actually went to Thrall and told him about this. But apparently no one has ever told Thrall about what I just mentioned.
He nodded to himself.
You knew.
Thrall brushed her off and stormed from the council chamber. After returning to the keep, Jaina brooded in her chambers, knowing she would need to leave on the morrow, unless she could convince Danath's kin to see reason. As the hours grew small, she heaved a sigh and resolved on seeking out Merrin herself. Today had been filled with bloodshed for Stromgard, and Merrin's emotions were naturally running high. As the sun sank low on the horizon, Jaina hoped her chance hadn't come and gone. But as she opened the door to her chambers, she was stunned to see Marin herself, looking exhausted and somewhat embarrassed. "I apologize for my words earlier," she said. "They were offered in haste." "They are forgiven," Jaina said. "But I would speak with you further." "Let us find somewhere private," Marin offered, away from the castle's ears. Marin led Jaina into a long stone chamber, cool and dark.
So really quick, I want to ask, whose ears are we trying to avoid, Marin? Who else is here that perhaps we are not aware of that may actually been influencing what's going on in Stromgarde and Marin? Maybe Marin is not the actual villain here like Gayara thinks. Maybe it's actually someone else from the old Human Guard, like Jaina's father, that is kind of whispering in Marin's ear to take these actions. Is that what's going on here?
Only by a flaming torch Marin took from a sconce and the soft glow of Jaina's staff. The chamber was clearly ancient, buried deep beneath Stromgarde's keep. The long spiral stairs that had led them down here had been worn by countless centuries, and the blocks that formed the chamber's walls were of a different shape and size to those of the city above. Marin stopped and held her torch aloft. "We walk in Erethdor," she said. "This is all that remains of that ancient place, the last echo of an old world. A fitting place for us to speak freely." Jaina nodded. "I grew up learning the legend, how Thoradin saw the vision of his father, clad in the pelt of a black wolf, and how he founded the first kingdom of humans." But Marin shook her head. "Not legend. History. One that I have been trusted to uplift and enrich through my own contributions. One that must not be forgotten." She sighed as she turned to the other woman. "I am eager to continue our earlier conversation, but first I wanted to speak with you about this." She produced a crumpled piece of parchment. Jaina's eyes widened in the dim light. It was her letter to Danath. "My spy master, Zetasia, is a fine shot with a bow, as your orc friend has already discovered. Ashamed to lose a valuable horse, but in war, sacrifices must be made." The glow of Jaina's staff flared just a bit brighter. "Marin," she said, "take care with your actions." Marin ignored the comment. "When I heard you'd come," she said, "I thought you were here to help me, that you might understand the position my uncle has put us in." Her words caught for a moment, and Jaina drew breath to speak. "Marin, I want to offer you my counsel," she began, "but I must do so in truth and with good intention. Lies will not serve you." Marin's fist tightened around the parchment. "Then give me your true counsel." Jaina clenched her jaw as she thought. Every word from now on had to count. "The Magar are people forged in battle," she said, "and the Korkron are the most elite warriors in the Horde. Continue to escalate tensions with the Magar and you will lose. You say you wish to honor your people, care for them. Forge a pact with Gayara and enrich both your peoples through friendship." Marin took a moment to think. "Yet I stand in the same room as the most powerful mage in all Azeroth, the one who tipped the battle for Lordaeron to the Alliance. And yet you tell me still that I will lose?" At this, Jaina sighed. "I came to offer you my advice, Marin, not my magic." Marin held Jaina's gaze for a moment, then turned and walked toward the other end of the chamber. She stopped and knelt down, her torch revealing a large, dark mass on the floor. Jaina followed Marin over, then gasped as she saw what it was. It was a dead wolf, still wearing the harness of its Korkron raider. She'd spoken with Thrall many times about the orcish mounts, For the Frostwolf clan especially, the relationship between orc and wolf were based on respect and friendship, rather than discipline and domestication. The poor creature was huge, its thick black fur shining in the torchlight. Maren stood and, placing her torch in a wall sconce, pulled a short knife with a curved blade from her belt. She grabbed the wolf's fur at the back of its head and lifted. The creature's jaw hung open, revealing dagger-sharp white teeth. "Our people are broken," Maren said as she got to work. "I learned that facing every conflict that struck Stromgarde, settling into this castle for a time, only to be spirited away to the country or shuttled about our allies' holdfasts. Through it all, I read nothing but our glorious histories, watching as my parents died and my uncle rode to war again and again. I sat in this keep, feeling helpless, realizing what precious little remained of the legacy of Arathor." Jaina could only watch in horrified fascination as Maren began to skin the wolf, sickened by what she knew this ritual represented. Dalaran's fall marks the passing of yet another human kingdom, though it had become unrecognizable in recent times. Gilneas succumbed for so long to blight, and we do not speak of what transpired in Altorak or Lordaeron. There came a terrible ripping sound as Maren separated skin from muscle and bone. "You nearly lost your seat in the Fourth War. And Stormwind? What used to be a backwater country now leads us, determines what cut of the Alliance's takings we may taste?" The regent of Stromgarde cut the skin carefully from the back now, hefting her prize with a spatter of blood. Sheathing the knife, Maren dragged the pelt clear of the wolf and laid it out over the ancient flagstones of Arathor. "The people look to us for strength, but we sell it, time and again, to the Alliance. We send their armies our grain, while the Stromics starve. We send them our fighters, while our children grow up not knowing their storied legacy. We struggle to repel the ogres, the Syndicate, or worse." Maren stood back and took the torch once again from the sconce. In its flickering light, Jaina could see Maren's skin was slick with sweat, her chest heaving at the exertion. But she saw something else, too. The regent stood in silence before the pelt, staring down at it, entranced, even though she was the one who had just prepared it. Jaina felt her heart sink as she realized the truth. Maren was more than just an inexperienced ruler, an idealist. She was a believer in a glorious past that Jaina also knew to be fantasy. Maren worshipped a misguided, even dangerous nostalgia for a golden age she had never experienced herself. Maren looked at Jaina. The Arathi Highlands belong to humanity. They are the heart of a great empire whose blood runs in our veins, even now, Jaina. We must purge them of all invaders and take back our kingdom. It is our birthright. It is what Thoradin fought for, and I am, destined to continue his legacy.
Okay, well that confirms it. Maren is actually the villain. I wasn't sure, but no, it is that confirms it right there. Maren is the villain here. Wow! That's a very interesting way to put it. It reminds me of spoilers for Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It reminds me of the gentleman that Robert Redford played in that film, where you could see that he was a true fanatical believer in Hydra. And when I say he was a fanatical believer in what Hydra stood for, in what it represented, I mean he believed in it so fanatically that he was willing to do to the Winter Soldier, Steve's friend, Winter Soldier. I'm blanking on his name at the moment, but he was willing to put him through torture and do the mind wipe thing and not flinch, not in any slightest way feel any remorse or regret or look bad or feel bad about it. He was so fanatically believing in that whole ideal that he had no problems whatsoever doing that to somebody else. And that's what they're painting Merrin here as, that she is such a believer in what the human kingdoms supposedly were back then, that she believes that the entire Rathi Highlands need to be cleansed of anything that is not human. Yeah, I don't think Danath anticipated that this is something that she actually had stewing inside her until she got to be in the position of leadership. Then she really let it be revealed.
Jaina struggled to contain her disdain as she spoke. Merrin, you are set on a path of annihilation. Will you help me, Jaina? Jaina shook her head, lost for words. At this, Merrin seemed to tense, bracing for a blow. I knew you wouldn't understand, she said. And I'm sorry. Jaina felt a sharp sting, and something clattered on the stone-flagged floor. Jaina's hand flew to her neck, and her fingertips came away bloodied. She turned and saw an archer step out of the shadowed corridor behind them. A woman in a long black hooded cloak, the same bowman, Zatasia, who had shot Thrall and intercepted Jaina's letter. And then Jaina collapsed, hitting the hard floor, her staff rolling out of her grip. She looked up, tried to focus on Merrin, as the world began to gray around her. Merrin ducked down and picked up a dart from the floor before collecting the wolf pelt. That won't kill her, right? I can't have the entire alliance at us, too. The archer smirked. The daughter of the sea will sleep well tonight. And then Jaina was lost to the darkness. The story continues in Heartlands, Chapter 4, Merrin's Choice.
Yeah, no kidding, she's made a choice. I'm also glad that she understands that if they killed Jaina, the entire alliance would absolutely annihilate them. Because they know that Stromgarde alone can't stand up against the entire alliance. But, yeah, no, it's pretty clear Merrin is the villain here. Gayara, as much as at times they have depicted Gayara as being, hot-headed and such, I mean, it's absolutely clear that Gayara is not... This is not a, both sides are at fault here. No, it's absolutely clear that Merrin is the one at fault here. Gayara has not been the one to initiate anything other than just simply retaliation and fighting back and defending against what Merrin is doing, because Merrin is literally on some kind of, genocidal crusade against these orcs here because we must claim back the Highlands for humanity alone. Yeah. Obviously, I'm now very interested in seeing how this story is going to get remedied. And by the way, I want to remind all of you, this is taking place as we are doing the leveling campaign, going through Dornogal, and then the Ringing Deeps, and then Hallowfall, and then Ashgahet. We're doing the questing in those zones while this story is happening. So we will be continuing that in the next chapter. Stay tuned!